I got one-on-one here.
I was in and out a lot, didn't do much trade. I took two scalp trades that worked out for a little bit, but I had other things keeping me busy today.
So. All right. Because you're primarily on the ES, right?
No, I went to NQ a few months ago and hammered it out with that.
Okay. Yeah, well, here I can blow up the NQ for you. I mean, it was quite frankly a pretty straightforward day. The only downside was they just didn't come down to our hurdle. That would have made it a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I woke up this morning, early this morning, and looked at it. Oh my God, it looked like the world was coming to an end.
Right. Big gap down. Yep. Are you following the storyline pretty well? How would you say you rate yourself on just following the story?
Well, I guess my big challenge is trying to do it with prop firms and the pullback. So there's, it's more than, you just can't let these things come back too far on you. So you end up failing.
And that can be harder on the NQ, just given the nature of the wicks of the NQ.
Yeah, I run it also on a shorter time frame, and then kind of when you use the targets, kind of roll with that. And I've got the auto trader set to kind of follow it up. So if I do get a pullback, it'll pop me out.
Because I've chatted with a couple of folks separately, and we've discussed what is because it's basically what is their number one setup that they're looking for. Because we can lay out what are facts, right? We can lay out where decision points are, where targets are going to be, where hurdles and half holes. We can lay all that stuff out. But at the same time, people do have to kind of come to some conclusion on their own. Usually it's coming off of the understanding of, boy, I've seen this thing, hit the half to hole a million times, and if it's not necessarily the big move, it generally has some kind of retrace, right? Within some range. So I'm just curious if have you put that to thought? Have you kind of gone down that road yourself?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you got to see it hit it and kind of bounce and then come back, which is a beautiful setup. Like this morning, just looking at the chart, obviously it kept fooling around down there, and then I kind of got to see it kind of launch a little bit off. I just got to keep things tight, I guess. I don't want to go backwards on it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because from 9 o'clock all the way through 9:35, we didn't really go anywhere. And it retested right here, right around the 607, 1, 2, 3, 4 separate times. So, yes, to your point.
And that's a clue. And I like to see a little bit of space between a few bars when it comes back, because then that's, not like two candles in a row. So I kind of we'll miss those, but you can kind of see it afterwards. And just knowing I can't let it come back on me too much.
And then are you the step out in front of the train kind of trader, or?
I got kind of smoked a few times on that. So
are you more like I need to have some kind of confirmation?
Yeah, I need to see it do something. Like it's sitting down in that mess, bouncing off of it. You just don't know. I mean,
sure.
You just don't know, and I would. You'd have to see, basically a green candle coming off of that and break out of that mess a little bit, and there you go. And I think a good clue is you know, the auto trader chart with a shorter time frame will show you when it's kind of switched over to going long. That's just a confirmation.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the right direction. But I mean, these big moves on NQ, it's just you've got to go. I kind of have a couple lots that I put together where I kind of scalp out in the beginning and then try to get the break even on it, because these things just come back on you, and
Yep.
you know, you're just wiped out before you even know it hit you. It's so
Yep.
quick some mornings. And I think
within a single 5-minute candle, you're 100% right.
Yeah, I mean, that looks like a beautiful candle sitting there, but you don't know if, sitting here looking at it, you can't tell if it went to POC and then bounced half the way back and then took off. I mean, I can't, without looking at a shorter time frame, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't really tell, and that's just the problem. You just got to somehow figure out, how can I follow that thing up.
Do you do any of the like buy stop, sell stop entry positioning?
Yes, everything I go in's got some initial targets to it, and then I'll adjust them to. I mean, and that's where, entries have always been a problem for me, but the targets are super helpful when you get on it right.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I'll put things out for targets. But was it like at 9:30 this morning? Since it was 9 o'clock. I'm going back through my stuff right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead. Hey, Ryan.
How's it going?
Good. How was your day? I know you got that one quick scalp off the has to hold in the ES. I heard that one.
That was it, man. I was clearly incorrect, right, in my bias, but it didn't mean that I was bad in my trade. I wanted to take short. I wanted to find an up high spot, take a short. So when you were talking about has to holds, I first laid out my bracketed 3 contracts around it, and then once you gave me that, the higher has to hold, I quickly bracketed around that at a higher point, and that turned out to be my savior, or I would have stopped out with a loser. And then, it came down, and it was, like I said, more contracts than I typically get in. So when I went back and looked at it later, it was, 15 ES points, in total. But I exited that without it getting to the targets because I wasn't prepared. I'm not, I haven't built the endurance or the skill level yet to be able to take that many contracts into a trade. Even though I'm placing them, I realized quickly once I'm in the trade, I don't like it and I want out of it. So, yeah, so that was it. So it was good. And then I didn't take another. I did play around with some sim trades and place those. They were taken out, but they didn't have to. It was me trying to get more points down to target. So I realized that again, I've got to work on it. But it was good. I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay. Decent report. Yeah. I mean, that's okay.
Well, just learning about myself.
That one wick went up to somewhere around 886 and came all the way back to 794-ish. Is that right?
886. Oh yeah, the 940 candle.
Yeah, where that wick is, it's up in the 883, 84 range, and then it came all the way back to like 798 or
796, 95. Yeah.
I'm trailing these things up basically, a couple of bars back. So I'm out long before it even hits that.
Yeah, because that's always the question of the day, right? Is where did you get in?
Right.
And if you can look back on the entry, I think we've probably said this at some point, but if you look back on the entry, you can recognize that I did get in at a hurdle or a has to hold or a rubber band, right? Because those are really the 3 that are at their extensions.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Targets are obviously targets. decision points are what they are. They have to be decided through to get to the targets and so forth. But if you're in one of those three and you can just calmly recognize that, yes, I am in at one of those three places and it's now going in your favor. And you've got, whatever number of contracts. If you clear, I think the average is about 5 contracts is what you would need in order to make pretty much any move to the first target, like the actual bubble, safely, like super safe. Because there's going to inevitably, unless it moves quickly, which I love those days, it just doesn't even give you time to have emotion or have thought. It goes from pass to hold all the way through decision point to target in a matter of like 2 candles. You're like, awesome. There's nothing to think about, right? But if you can calmly, like I said, if you're in those moves, you can calmly look at those and realize that, okay, yeah, I did. I got in right near one of those 3 spots. Then it's one of those things you have an opportunity to like take that last contract and let it run and let it try to ride. But yeah, if you got in, and again, it's all just recognition of where did you get in? Like if you sat around for a ton of confirmation, and you got in, I don't know, maybe it had a has to hold and it cleared 2 different spots. We were like, take a conservative profit target and you still weren't in. And then finally got up near a decision point. And you're like, okay, I'm really going to get in this time. And then that's where you end up getting in. So be it. Right. It's just the being cognitive enough and calm enough to realize like, this is where I got in. This is just what it is. And sometimes it's just the day, right? Like we start the day right hovering around decision points. Like we don't get to pick that. It just happens. And on those days when you're realizing that, man, I didn't get in a great spot. I just didn't. Then I completely understand and agree with a lot of folks who are like, man, I trail those things tight. Like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't. I mean, where you're full of prop firms, you just can't let them come back 50 points on. You just can't let it do it. You can't do it. You just can't let it do it.
Right. 100%.
Yep.
So I don't know who else was talking. My other trade that I wanted, but didn't happen, of course, is when I first looked at things. If I remember right, you had something at like, did you have something down at 6,771 on ES?
Yes.
In the beginning, and maybe you took it off.
Let's see here. 6,771.
Yeah,
it's down. It's still down here.
Yeah,
68.
Okay, 68. Yeah. So I had 7-1, and that was gonna, that was my hope. My hope was we were gonna short in the beginning, get down to that, and I was gonna buy long, but it didn't happen. We went up, and so then I decided to short, higher up at the bracketed area you gave, but I just chose the higher bracketed area.
Higher version. Yep.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, it's always nice again when they come in with like confluence near something else that's of a heavier weight. So we had expected high right there at 44.
Yeah.
So I always appreciate when that happens.
And then I was watching later in the day in between appointments. I was watching NQ, and I kind of keyed in on your 100 level. I think it was where your decision point was. And that was really interesting to watch based on the time of day and how that entry really, would have been a really good one. But it took a long time for it to, decide that it wanted to commit lower. And I really didn't understand, because I don't watch a lot of NQ.
Which one?
NQ, I think you had a level decision point right at 100. Like, I don't know if it was 25, 100 or.
Let's see here.
I don't really ever watch NQ, but I know whoever was speaking earlier, they watch a lot of NQ. It sounds like based on what they were saying.
So tell me again, which one?
Didn't you have something up there at 100?
At 100?
20, 2,500?
The decision point. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was really interesting to watch in the sense of
well, it was actually, sorry, it was, I'm sorry, you're saying 100 and I was like, I'm looking at my notes, it's 98.
90. Okay.
I really do. I totally memorize numbers. So when people say something like, 100, and I'm like, I don't remember ever saying 100 today.
Yeah. I don't watch a lot of NQ, but I did today at the end of the day there, and it was just interesting because of how the price action acted, and that rejection off of 98. I was like, no, 100, they got to get there, and then they did, and then sold off. But it was interesting.
Yep.
But I had it down as 100. I didn't have it down as 98.
I got you. Yeah, it's a pretty major, and we have discussed this, and just for the sake of the those that are here. Decision points when they're distant, like today, right? It was pretty far away. How many points away? It was 500 points away on the NQ. Okay, from the period we started to where the decision point is. So it is something that, and you can just keep watching it, right, and just get comfortable with this idea. But it is something that you can scalp. You can actually take the opposite direction.
Yeah, I watched it for a short. I mean, that's what I was watching it for. And it had to do with, like what I was telling you in that, earlier, like the market, like you just said, the market was, had gone so high. It was so late in the day, did they really want to take it higher? And then, looking left, I just saw that, potentially there were opportunities that the market had recently to go higher and didn't, and said 100 was high enough, and they went back down. So I just thought that was, a good spot to watch.
Yep. Yeah, and I kind of label them as that in the sense of, like, if we were to have, let's say we started our day off with, and we're, within 50, 60 points of it. 50, 60 points on the NQ is nothing, right? It's no big deal. So if we're that close to a decision point, I personally, unless something else is geared around it, like unless there's maybe a has to hold slightly under it or slightly above it, or you've got a series of targets that are kind of overlapping a decision point, and just on opposite sides of it, you got a rubber band on this side and a target on this side. Unless something else is in line with a decision point, and again, we're talking about it being close to us, right? Like we're starting the day off, it's not too far away. Those are the ones that I would not counter trend personally. I'd want to actually see something happen, again, of some sort of confluence, whether that be, targets, has to holds, just something. But when they start trekking far away, now, I guess one of the other times that actually, believe it or not, it's actually a good time to counter trend them is when the market's moving incredibly fast and it's just hauling. And it's just like you start the day off with, and it just shoots straight up 150, 200 points. And it's just like making its way to it. It feels like you're going to step out in front of the train and just get demolished. Those are oddly enough really, really good times to counter trend also. Otherwise, this sort of grinding, super slow action. But again, it was really far away from where we started. And it doesn't matter. Like, where did you start the day off with? What did you take? What did you not take? Are you still flat? Have you not taken a trade yet today? Do you still need something? So, yeah, what else you guys got?
When I looked at that 100, I felt like the next possible spot that they would.
You gotta stop saying 100. You're driving me nuts.
Oh, sorry. 25, 100 area.
No, 90,
25,
98.
98. Well,
number is 98.
160. Like that was the other level I was kind of looking at, and I was thinking, all right, if you put a contract in and took a short there, that you'd stop out, obviously, but try to go higher, and then you could attempt again around, 160. So that was kind of my thought, but I never watch NQ, so it was just interesting.
And have you gotten, I mean, have you tried to do any like market correlations? Trading ES mostly, but watching NQ and realizing NQ is about to reach a has to hold. I know that we're not at a has to hold in the ES, it's down there, but here the market is over on the NQ. It's about to touch it. Do you do that?
I used to. So I used to do that, and it's I would have a ADD, SPY and Q. So basically, it was more of a momentum type of trade where SPY, NQ and ADD are all kind of like going in the same way or hitting an area. And if that was happening, then I would, find a level area like I'm talking about, and I would have confidence that, I'm going to move for, what was at that time a scalping trade. But I haven't been doing that as much, since I've been in the room with you guys. But yes, 100%. That was definitely, a trade plan. It was that kind of setup where Q's, ADD, and SPY were all kind of reaching something and or traveling in the same direction, and then that was my trade. But no, not since I've been in the room.
Okay. Yeah, I find it pretty helpful, especially when one or the other kind of seem like they're maybe between something. Maybe they're between a decision point and a has to hold, or between a decision point and a hurdle. And the other indice is like reaching its rubber band, for instance. Because the markets themselves financially are just so intertwined. The only time it doesn't work and it's really obvious is when, NQ is going up and the ES is going down, or vice versa. Like when they're completely discombobulated, then clearly just ignore that thought, just ignore that process. But when they're both sort of moving and grinding in the exact same direction, but one's just reaching a key level before the other, yeah, I find those incredibly helpful. Anyhow, other concepts or anything? Kind of limited folks here this evening, so it's all yours.
Yeah, I wish we had more people because they definitely ask more, they ask questions, which are always helpful.
Mm-hmm. I think of something else that I could bring up that was of real relevance. Yeah, of course, on the basic review of the day, right? Like they held the hurdle, they just missed it by a lot, sadly, and then just shot straight up at 935. So as far as entering into it, the only one that was a bit more logical, of course, was the ES, because we did have the decision point. We talked about it, labeled it, and it too is the same thing. It's the same weighted level as a hurdle, in the sense of like they have to do it. They have to get through these things in order to even make it to the next thing. But kind of what you were saying, Ryan, earlier, is that it just may not be part of your trade plan, which is fine. It's still good to recognize and just realize, like, oh, they're struggling like absolute crazy to get through these things. And then maybe at some point in the future, it will be part of your trade plan. Who knows? But otherwise, what else do we have? Yeah, this is one I got in personally. It was the only trade I got into today on the ES, and it wicked through a couple times. And I would mention as I was like out the door, I was like, I wouldn't give it a whole lot more room than what it's already done, because that already, it's not committal, right? And we've seen that a lot. It's not a very high committing move, but it's definitely way more than what a typical, well, not way more, a couple points more definitely a couple points more than a miner has to hold will commonly give. I mean, I feel like that's a rarity when you get something like that. But yeah, they got all the targets. Didn't quite make it to its decision point. So this would have been, here you go, Ryan. So correlation time, right? Time of day, 1440 hours and 1440 hours right here. The NQ is reaching its decision point when the ES is just coming up short, barely, on its decision point. So that'd be a good correlating event. All right. Yeah, that's kind of it for me. If you guys got something, let me know. But otherwise, we don't have to keep you guys here tonight. Watch the videos, of course, and just rinse and repeat. It's the same stuff over and over again. The only time it doesn't apply, we talked about this, I think it's in the videos too, is when the market's made some rather significant push, either up or down, doesn't really matter. But they've been grinding and pushing for usually some decent period of time, can be days or weeks. And then they've just finally fulfilled like all these massive, long running, far out targets. After they start to get to all those, it's natural that they just start taking profit. And when they start taking profit from having made these long runs, where that's going to stop is very hard to gauge. You can kind of get some guesstimations and kind of get some like general somewhere around here, but you just got to wait for them. Like when they start making those moves, because it always happens after having reached targets. And you see it over and over and over again. They've gone on for, again, like some long run. I'm usually saying it at that point, like, this is a big deal, right? Like we have reached a huge target here, folks. This is big. That's usually when we used to laugh. I would say like, okay, like if the market was going up and up and up and up, and we're getting really out there, like just overbought, extended, we're reaching targets that have no business being reached. The comedian in me is like, okay, well, when you wake up tomorrow morning, something's going to be on fire. The world will be the world's going to be at war. Or someone's going to have done something super wrong, and it never fails. Sure enough, within a day or two, some tragic news is out there, and people are like, oh, that's what's causing it. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with it. It was already predetermined. They knew where they were going. Nice. Nice. All right, guys. I won't bore you anymore. I'm just randomly keep talking. So
thanks, George.
I wish I had lots of questions, and I was going to tell Bob to pick the people out of the general room, and maybe they'll come over here, like, or the trade room. But maybe they're just still hanging out in there.
Oh, well, I posted in there.
Then they're probably just left their computers on.
Yeah, a lot of them do that. A lot of them. Yep. All right, guys. Well, have a good night. We'll see you in the morning.
Thanks, bud.
Thanks, George.
See you.